Hello Game Boys and Game Girls, I'm the Game Boy Guru and welcome to another vinyl video game music collection video. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but I kind of wanted to wait because I wanted to do a themed one similar to what I did with my Castlevania episode a while back. And this is going to be the biggest one yet because I have a lot to show off. So this is going to be all of the modern vinyl that I own that is either shmup music or that includes shmup music. So let's get started. So I guess the latter descriptor will only apply to this one, and that is the Zuntata Taito Sound Team Arcade Classics Volume 1, primarily because it has music from Metal Black. Now, you could also technically consider Night Striker a possible deal. It's one of those Space Harrier type games where it's a third-person view behind the craft and you're piloting this sort of flying car thing and shooting enemies down. Very similar to Space Harrier, Galaxy Force, Burning Force, etc. So there are some really good tracks on here. And this is it's a gatefold, which is really cool because it has an introduction by Jeremy Parrish on the one fold, and then on this other fold it has this introduction by Katsuhisa Ishikawa from Zuntata. And of course I don't read Japanese, so I have no idea what this says. But it's still pretty cool that it's included. And this was done by Ship-to-Shore Records, or Ship-to-Shore Phono Company. I've got several of their records. This one is a bit of an interesting story because when I first bought this, I had problems with it. It would skip, and I could not get it to play correctly. So I contacted Ship-to-Shore, and after a few emails back and forth, they sent me another copy. And that one didn't play right at first either, but when I made a couple of minor adjustments on my turntable to the tone arm and all of that, it played fine. I went back and tried to play the original copy that I got, and it still didn't play right. So the initial one did have some issues, like I thought. But this is a pretty decent little vinyl release. Pretty standard, good quality weight to the outer sleeve, and then the vinyl itself is just an opaque blue, as you can see. Real basic, but very clean and very nice looking. Sounds great, and they picked some good tracks from this soundtrack. I do wish they would at some point they would do a full Metal Black soundtrack, but in lieu of that, this is at least a good place to start. And speaking of Zuntata, we also have the Darius soundtrack, which is this is an interesting one. We actually pull this out of the sleeve here because it is like this, where it's got the whole art in this tall format, similar to an arcade flyer that you would see. And so here on the back, you've got the track listing. On the inside of the gatefold, once again, you've got some cool stuff here. Interview with Hisayoshi Ogura about composing the soundtrack and kind of what his vision was for it. And then on this side, Anthony John Agnello, senior editor at Games Radar, kind of doing a write-up on the music of Darius. And of course, this is a flyer advertising the game, which is pretty cool. And the vinyl itself, once again, is blue, although this time it is more translucent. So there's side A and side B. This sounds great. It's a really nice vinyl. I spun this one not too awful long ago. Unfortunately, the side is already split. That seems to be a common thing with newer vinyl releases that have a weightier platter and get, you know, the full treatment like this. If they don't ship them with the record out of the sleeve, a lot of times you get that split, unfortunately. So, but it is what it is, and there's not much you can do to change that other than if and when the company gives you the option to, you know, to have them ship it with the vinyl outside. Next up, how about some stuff from Konami? This is Gradius. This is from Ship to Shore as well, so we're kind of on a roll here with them. And this includes both the Famicom NES on one side and then the MSX soundtrack on the other. Curious as to why they didn't do the arcade soundtrack, but they didn't choose to do that. Perhaps because there's so many people with nostalgia for the console versions. Now this is a lovely splatter vinyl, as you can see, with a beautiful blue and white or gray kind of splatter on there. Side A, and then there's side B for you. Really nice looking platter, and I think the soundtrack for the original Gradius is solid. You know, I think Konami definitely bested their work in later years, but I would say that it's still, you know, pretty good. Oh, and then here's some an art page, and then some information here again from Jeremy Parrish doing a write-up on Gradius and kind of talking about the two different versions of the soundtrack. So a solid release from Ship to Shore, as is that of Gradius 2. Once again, the Famicom and the MSX versions. Now, the MSX Gradius 2 is a much different game. Or Nemesis 2, I guess it is. And so it's actually really cool that they included that, because they're really two different games, and so you're getting two soundtracks in one. Again, not sure why they elected to go with this instead of the arcade soundtrack, but it is what it is. Again, this one's a nice, weightier, heavier stock. So you've got the art here, and then you've got the, I guess it is Gradius 2 on the MSX, because that's what you've got there. And then this is another write-up by Jeremy Parrish talking about the games. And this is a pretty nice setup there. And once again, on this vinyl, I don't know if they didn't offer a splatter version or if I just got in too late to actually get it. But this is just a clear vinyl. So there's side A for you with Gradius 2 Famicom, and then side B, which is Gradius 2 on the MSX. And this is a good soundtrack. Gradius 2's soundtrack in the arcade, I would say, is a marked improvement over the original. And what they were able to do with the Famicom, with the additional sound capabilities, was great. And the Gradius 2 soundtrack on the MSX is quite good as well. So, you know, it's more of a preference thing, I think, as to which one you like better. As what Jeremy says on the insert here, that there's no clear winner as to which one's better. And then we also have Gradius 3. Now this is a 2 LP, so it's a gatefold, and this includes the Super Famicom soundtrack on the first LP and the arcade soundtrack on the second, because there are some differences between the two. So I'm glad they finally included the arcade soundtrack here. But this is just some gorgeous art that they've done for all of these LP releases. Once again, shipped to shore, and I really like this package. And of course, the Gradius 3 soundtrack is a fantastic one. So here again, you've got this piece. It's on heavy stock again. And again, a write-up from Jeremy Parrish comparing the arcade and Super NES soundtracks. I really like the Super NES soundtrack for Gradius 3, and I tend to prefer that, but really, you can't go wrong with either. And again, this is a clear vinyl. So here you've got side A, Gradius 3 Super Famicom, and Gradius 3 Super Famicom side B. And this is probably my favorite of the early games in the series in terms of the soundtrack. I need to spend more time with Gradius 2, but that definitely has a great soundtrack. So I would probably need to play that one a little bit more for that one to grow on me a bit, but they're both really good. And here is platter number 2. So you've got side C, the arcade soundtrack there. And then side D, once again, the arcade release, just a standard clear vinyl. So I wish I had a splatter vinyl of that, because I really enjoy that, but this is cool nonetheless. And a great listen. And not to be outdone, they also have Life Force on vinyl now. This just came in the mail a few days ago. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to spin it yet. Hoping to maybe do that later this evening while I'm doing a couple things working from home. This has the Famicom and NES soundtrack on side A, and then side B is the MSX soundtrack. So let's pull this open here. And so we've got, this is my first time seeing this. Ooh, this is cool. This is a full poster. Very cool. And on the inside, right up from Anthony John Agnello, who I mentioned before, on Life Force and Salamander, and the soundtracks here. And the platter itself, this is the standard release from Ship to Shore. There were a couple of other variants that they had coming from other retailers, but because of the whole fire aspect, I decided to go with the standard kind of orange splatter sunburst look. So there is side A with the NES and Famicom tracks, and then side B with the MSX tracks. I really like the green splatter vinyl as well. That was a variant that was exclusive to, I can't remember the name now, but I think it was a UK label. Was very tempted to buy that one, especially after I saw that it shipped so quickly, and this one took forever. Now I got this one a little bit later than I did, than I probably would have otherwise, because I pre-ordered this and another non-video game vinyl from them at the same time, so it didn't ship until both were actually released. Okay, shifting gears from Ship to Shore, this is Polestar. And this is from Brave Wave and their game label. And so this is a real nice gatefold like they've done with several of their releases. Really cool art setup here. Polestar, of course, being a Neo Geo shoot-'em-up. And a very much inspired by, if not practically ripping off, R-Type. Download code, which I will not show you, even though I've already redeemed it. There's this really nice booklet in here. I love that Brave Wave does this. They've got several of these that they've done that have these really nice booklets that have breakdowns of the tracks. There's this cool signed card from the composer, Harumi Fujita, which is awesome that I ordered it early enough to get one of the signed ones. And here's his breakdown in English and Japanese of each of the tracks and, you know, the stages and what he was trying to accomplish in terms of the mood he was trying to set. And there's write-ups on all of these different things. And of course some screenshots and different art from the game. And really cool stuff. So Brave Wave always goes all out with their vinyl releases and always does a really good job of giving a premium package with what they're doing. And so sides A and B are the MVS and AES version that you get on the cartridge. And so that is the first record in the gatefold. Open this back up here so I can drop this signed card back in here. And then the second platter is a nice bonus because it also has the Neo Geo CD version of the soundtrack, which is slightly remixed or, you know, slightly different sounding than the AES and MVS versions. So this is a gray vinyl, as you can see, side C and side D. This is a great soundtrack, and I really think this came out well. I know there are a couple people who have said that that it doesn't sound as good as it could or should, but realistically I think it sounds pretty good. And I've been very pleased with what Brave Wave has done over the years with their vinyl releases, because I own several and I really think they all sound pretty good. Let's see if I can sneak this back into the sleeve here. Not always possible when you've got a standard size sleeve and gatefold vinyl that's just bigger, or a gatefold outer sleeve that's bigger. What I probably need to do is spend the money and invest in actual gatefold sleeves that cover, you know, both sides of the gatefold. Speaking of gatefold, here's another one, and this is the Battle Garega Rev 2016 vinyl. This was offered as a special bonus item in the large, expensive box set from Limited Run Games for their Western release of Battle Garega, which of course is a famous shoot-'em-up from Rising, and has, until this release, never saw a release in the West. And so there's one of the bosses in the game, pretty famous boss, that shoots a ton of bullets and stuff all around at you when you encounter it. So this is a 2-disc, yeah, 2 LPs, and this is the 2016 remix version of the soundtrack. It's a real nice sort of smoky gray splatter with the red and black flecks in there. And then there's side B for you. This is a great soundtrack and really a great game. And one of those games that has had a lot of love over the years from the shmup community, but it's not that well known outside of the shmup community. Oh boy, this is going to be difficult. Oh, come on now. Just ease back in there. Sometimes they're a little harder to fit back into the outer sleeve. And once again, we've got the different planes on each of the sides. So there's side C, still with the smoky gray and red and black splatter, and there's side D. So just a really nice package. Not a lot, I mean, not any real extras per se, but that's to be expected since the whole package that it came with was all extras other than the physical release of the game. You know, it came in this big box, which I showed off in an earlier pickups video a long while back. And now we move on to another company who has been doing a lot of video game vinyl, and that is Data Discs. And this is Radiant Silvergun, the famed Sega Saturn game that was also originally a Sega Titan or STV arcade game. This is a dual disc, but it is not a gatefold. It's just a wider sleeve. But Data Discs always does really cool things with their releases, like including extra stuff, such as this fun sticker sheet of the different characters within the game. And this cool poster with art of the craft that you pilot in the game, and this double-sided art card. That's basically the art that you see on the Sega Saturn sleeve, and then of course the replication of the art that's on the outer sleeve for the vinyl release. I made sure to pre-order this one early, so I got the awesome splatter vinyl, which is, this is like a 2-in-1, because they did this mixed color vinyl and then they included a splatter. So it's this really cool sort of orange and clear or opaque or I guess lightly translucent vinyl with this gorgeous red flecks of splatter. There's side B of that. First platter. And here is the second release, or the second record, which is more of a red and clear with these yellow flecks. So the flecks and the splatter is a lot harder to see on the red side, but of course on the clear side you can see that. And there's side D. So just a really nice package and legendary soundtrack. Really, really good stuff from Data Discs here, and something that I know a lot of people were looking forward to. But I'm curious to see if and when they will ever do an Ikaruga release, because if that happens, it is sure to be a hot item. And of course, I can't do a shmup vinyl video without talking about my favorite shmup of all time that got a vinyl release within the last couple of years, and that is Thunder Force 4, also from Data Discs, since they are working primarily with Sega properties, with a couple of exceptions. What is really cool about this is you can see how wide and thick this casing is. This is actually a triple vinyl, because this is a big soundtrack. And one of the things that I'm super glad about with this is, and I'll show it here on the back, is the final vinyl. The third platter in there is all 10 of the omake tracks, the extra tracks that were not used within the game in various stages, but are unlockable in the sound test once you beat the game. So no matter what difficulty you beat the game on, then if you go back into the options screen and go into the sound test, these tracks are available. And I discovered that on my own after beating the game, and have long been a fan of several of these. In particular, Omake 2, 4, 8, and 9, and 10. There are so many good ones in here, but this is such a monster soundtrack, and just so much to love about this. So you've got this art card, which is great because even though it's for Thunder Force 4, this was actually the Western art. And so this is the art that I have for Lightning Force, the Western release, or at least the US release of the game. And so that's cool. There's also this neat poster, which I don't know if this was in any promotional art in Japan, or if this is something that was done up later. But this is a really cool piece. And I'm tempted to buy a frame so I can put that up on the wall. And then, of course, you have the 3 records themselves. So I had to get in and pre-order this early so I could get in on this mixed vinyl kind of marble action. So it's the blue and black here, and much darker on this side with the little bits of blue. Oops. Didn't quite get into the sleeve. Here is sides C and D. This one is kind of black and gray. Again, a really cool marble design. Love this style. And I'm really hoping at some point that they decide to do the other games in the series, because I would love to see I mean, the soundtracks for all of the console Thunder Force games have been great. So I would definitely buy 2, 3, and 5. And then for E and F, the third vinyl with the Omake tracks is this sort of blue and gray. So I love that they came out in such a way that you've got one color that's dominant on the one side and then one that's dominant on the other side. It's a really cool effect how that came out on all three of these. And I know it's kind of random, but I'm sure there's a process by which they can sort of influence it in that general direction. And so it's really cool how they were able to achieve that. So that is Thunder Force 4. Again, from Data Discs. Very pleased with this release in particular, but realistically with all of their releases that I've purchased. I don't own their entire catalog, but I do have, I would say, more than half of them at this point. And they're all records that I really enjoy, and something that I'm always glad to throw on the turntable, you know, after work or on the evening when I'm running around my apartment cleaning, or, you know, that kind of a thing, organizing in here, whatever, cooking sometimes. So anyway, that's all I have to show you for today. This is all of the modern shmup-related vinyl that I'm aware of. So if any of you out there know of any that I don't already have, please let me know, because I want to make sure that I pick this stuff up. Now, I am waiting on the 2 forthcoming limited or special edition orders from Dispatch Games, that being Radargy Swag, and also oh good grief, what's the other one? The Game Paradise Cruise and Mix special edition. There's a Nintendo Switch bundle for both of those, and each of those is going to come with a vinyl soundtrack. So I will have those in my collection as well, but other than those, I'm not aware of any modern video game vinyl shmup music that is available. At some point, I'd like to see about the possibility of buying a couple of old 1980, mid-80s, mid to late 80s Konami Gradius vinyls, and I know there's one from 87 or 88, I think, with the Fantasy Zone soundtrack that also has bonus tracks from a couple of other Sega arcade games. I'm aware of those, but this is what I have for modern releases. So again, if you're aware of any that I don't have, please let me know, because I would like to make sure that I have those on my radar and can acquire those before they become outrageously priced. So if you like this video, consider clicking the thumbs up. Also consider subscribing so you can see more of my videos in your YouTube feed. I'll have a link in the description below to my blog where you can check out my Game Boy reviews. That is gameboyguru.blogspot.com. Also check out Nira's channel. He provided the Super Mario Land overworld music that I use as the intro for a lot of my videos, and he does a bunch of other great chiptune and game music covers as well, so please have a listen to those. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and game on.